Thank you so much for joining us on TVC News at 10. We begin here in Lagos State, where passengers on a United Nigeria flight NUA 0504, which took off from Lagos to Abuja, found themselves at the Asaba airport. Immediately after the aircraft landed at the Asaba airport, the cabin crew announced to the excited passengers that they had landed in Abuja. As they looked through the aircraft windows, the reality dawned on them that they were actually in Asaba and not Abuja, which bore the boarding pass they were holding, and one that was originally their destination. Well, one of the passengers said the aircraft departed Lagos on a United Nigeria flight to Abuja, and upon arrival, the cabin crew confidently announced that they had arrived in Abuja, only for them to realize that they landed in Asaba. The airline, in a swift reaction, attributed the flight diversion to Asaba International Airport due to poor destination weather. Head of Corporate Communications for the airline, Achilles Chud Uchegbu, said a United Nigeria Airlines flight operating from the Murtala Mohammed International Airport 2 in Lagos en route Abuja on November 26, 2023 was temporarily diverted to the Asaba International Airport due to poor destination weather. Well, that's what he said in the public statement. He noted that at all material times, the pilot of the aircraft was aware of the temporary diversion and was properly briefed. For more on the United Nigeria Airline diversion, we're hoping to get the head of corporate communications, Achilles Chud Uchegbu, and we're also hoping to speak with a passenger of the airline, Soliu Tanko Yakasai. We'll also get a TVC's Kayode Ladende. He will join us from United Nigeria Airlines, and we're also expecting to have an aviation editor of Daily Telegraph, Wale Shadare, to help us better understand why there was a flight diversion. Well, for now, we understand that the passenger on this flight is standing by to speak with us on TVC News at 10. It's good to have you join us on the news at this time.
Thank you very much for having me.
So talk to us about what your experience was like. Some of you have said that you were a bit confused and shocked that the flight NUA 0504 got to Asaba in one way or the other.
I think it was beyond a bit. You were terribly confused because our flight was supposed to initially depart Lagos at 2 p.m. There was delay. I think after about an hour or so delay, we finally boarded the aircraft to Abuja, and we departed normal. It was a very normal flight. And then upon our landing, about 45 minutes later, we realized that, we are not in Abuja. And the cabin crew, usually when the flight lands, the cabin crew will be like, welcome to Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. So he said that while the flight was taxiing. And I was sitting close to the window and I looked through the window. We were all confused a bit. Initially, I thought probably they had Asaba passengers on board, that they were going to drop them. But when the flight came to a stop, nobody was coming down. So, of course, the passengers started being agitated. It was becoming a bit rowdy. So after about 5 minutes or so, the pilot then announced on the plane that they received a wrong flight plan. But they are sorting it out, and we'll be on our way to Abuja momentarily. We were on ground for about 30 minutes, and then after that, the flight continued its journey to Abuja, where we landed safely. So it was after we landed that I heard the statement from United Nigeria that there was weather report. But to be honest, at no time of that flight time, whether from Lagos to Asaba or Asaba to Abuja, that there was mention of any weather issue. When we landed in Abuja, there was no weather condition whatsoever, and other flights were also on ground. So to be honest, we are really confused, and I think they really need to explain to us what happened.
So did the airline apologize in any way to you or the passengers?
Well, the pilot, when he spoke, he said apologies, that the reason why we are in Asaba was because they had the wrong flight plan, but they are sorting it out. So I think that was the only thing we got. Nothing extra When we landed in Abuja, there was no proper briefing of what transpired, and that was how we boarded the flight and came out of it in Abuja.
So for you, is the apology enough, or are you demanding any kind of compensation? Because I know that you had said that this flight was initially delayed. So are you demanding any kind of compensation? Because for you and other passengers, it's your time that was wasted.
Well, first of all, I think we have to give thanks to the Almighty Allah that there was no any issue with the aircraft and we were able to land safely. And I think, secondly, it was quite bizarre that there was. This is the first time I'm hearing of such a mistake, if it is a mistake or whatever happened that made us to be diverted to a different airport. So I think I'm a bit furious as to why they are saying it's weather. I think they are playing with our intelligence. This is totally wrong. Nigerians we have been used to getting things like this, and because nothing is being done, things keep happening. If they have even considered the possibility of telling us actually that this is what happened in their statement, I think it wouldn't be an issue. Probably maybe whoever is responsible for the error, they can be handled at that level. But I think it's an insult to our sensibility for them to issue a statement claiming it was weather. I have been in a number of flights that there are weather issues, and the pilot will tell us, ahead of time. But there was no such announcement, and I feel they're insulting our intelligence when the pilot in the aircraft said that it was a wrong flight plan, and then only for us to land in Abuja and so a statement from the airline that it's on. So I think they need to get their story right, or else they will be getting a lot of litigations from so many of the passengers.
All right, let me just put you on note for a while we bring in the aviation editor of Daily Telegraph, Wale Shadari, to help us better understand how flight diversion became, what would I call it now? What's the difference between a wrong flight plan being issued to the pilot and the flight diversion explanation being given by the airline? It's good to have you join us on the news. So you've been covering this beat for quite some time, for decades. What's your assessment of what we're hearing tonight?
Thank you very much. I initially was shocked about what happened, but when I had to dig deeper, I discovered that it wasn't actually weather related. The airline was actually giving a wrong flight plan, and it found itself in Asaba instead of Abuja. It's quite unfortunate because when you tie this to weather, what it shows that it wasn't weather related. We expect that the airline would have just apologized to the passengers and say, okay, it was our fault, or the flight plan that we're given was actually wrong. It's not the first time it will happen, but this is the first time it will happen in Nigeria. In 2019, we had a similar incident with British Airways. The aircraft was supposed to depart for Düsseldorf in Germany, but ended up in Edinburgh. And what the airline did immediately was to apologize to the passengers and look for ways to compensate them, because the passenger could actually go to court to seek for redress. So they apologized and promised to get to the root of the matter. And I believe that's what United Nigeria Airlines should have done. Apologize to the airline. Some of these things happen, but to tie it to weather is what a lot of people in the aviation industry are not really happy about. Mistakes can be made, and we thank God no damage was done to the aircraft. The aircraft landed very, very well, no impact on anything. So when some of these things happen, we should be able to come out clean and explain to the passengers and the general public exactly what is happening. So, and it is not actually a time for damage control. There's no damage to be controlled here. Rather, you are even escalating the matter. It should just have ended with, we are sorry, we look into it, and we're able to make amends. That should have just resolved the problem and put this to rest eventually.
So help us better understand. So from the flight part, now Asaba looks to be in a tangent position to Abuja. How will weather be the reason for diversion as explained in the airline's statement? That's if there is supposed to be, if there's a supposed flight diversion now. The nearest airport should have been Jos, but it has been downgraded to Category 5. So if this was given them like a benefit of doubt, if there was going to be any kind of flight diversion, as they say in their statement, what options, or is there an alternative airport that the pilot should have been instead of Asaba?
When an airline flies is planned, it can use any airport as alternate airport in case of emergency. I wouldn't have expected that Asaba would have been picked as alternate airport. I would have expected that Lagos or Ibadan or Ilorin should have picked as alternate airport. But the captain, in his wisdom, anytime they have a flight, they always check some of these things to find out that which airport will be better for me to land in case of emergency. That is up to the airline and to the crew to determine what they want to do at any point in time in case there's an emergency. But looking at it from a layman's angle, I would have expected that Lagos or any other airport closer to Abuja would have served as alternate airport. But that is the decision of the airline to have picked Asaba as alternate airport. But what we are discussing here is not about weather. It has nothing to do with weather. It was just a case of wrong flight plan. And I think the airline just needs to come clean and tell the whole public that this is exactly what happened. Because the crew couldn't have made a mistake if there had been a proper briefing on proper briefing by the pilot to say, okay, this is where we are, this is the situation. Before you have when you have a weather problem, the pilot will brief the passengers to tell them that we have a problem, we have a challenge here, we have weather problem, we can't land at this airport, we need to make a detour or to go back to base. But in this case, what we suggest is that there was no proper briefing from the crew, there was nothing at all for the cabin crew to have made a mistake that they had landed in Ibadan, in Abuja, when in actual fact, the aircraft landed in Asaba. So for those cabin crew members to have made the mistake, it shows that the airline needs to, review its operational standards.
Mr. Shatter, let me put you on hold for a while so we can let our passenger who has been through this ordeal rest a while. Let me ask you the final question, Mr. Tanko Yakasai. For you as a passenger on the plane in question now, the flight to Abuja was supposed to be 1 hour, 15 minutes. At what point, did you get confused? I know that you had said that when you got to the airport, after the cabin crew had announced that you were already in Abuja, you got out, you saw through the window that this does not look like the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. So talk to us about at what time did the cabin crew announce to you that you had reached Abuja, and apart from them apologizing in Asaba Airport, what else did they say even when you got to the Abuja Airport?
Well, so apparently, I think the flight time was almost about the same from Abuja from Lagos to Abuja is under an hour, not 1 hour, 15 minutes. So it's about almost the same flight time from Abuja to Asaba, from Lagos to Asaba. So there wasn't really much difference in terms of the flight time, And like I said, I was sitting on the aisle, so I wasn't sitting by the window. If I was sitting on the window, I would definitely know that we are not landing in Abuja, because I know the Abuja terrain and I've flown it several times before. So I would have known that this is not Abuja. But like I said, it was after we landed and they announced, and I peeped through the window and I realized that this is not Abuja. Like I said, when we landed at Abuja, there was no proper communication or apology as to what happened. So I think from my own end, like your guest rightly said, this, if they had come clean and they had said, this is just an error that they will look into, blah, 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 it wouldn't have been an issue. But I think then putting out that statement that it was whether, trying to contradict themselves from the reality on the ground, I think that is where they got it wrong. And I think it's still not late for them to properly set the record straight. And if they are not willing to do that, perhaps maybe we have to seek redress in the courts. And I think that's the only option if they are not willing to come clean. But if they are willing to come clean, perhaps maybe we can just let it go. Because some passengers, like the one sitting in the next row after mine, was claiming that he has an international flight to catch and he has missed that opportunity. So for him, there will be damages. There's another one that was shouting that he has a meeting to attend, and they have also missed that opportunity for him. So other passengers, have genuine reasons to be on ground on time, and this is coming 2 hours after they delayed the flight, the 2-hour flight that was supposed to leave. And generally, I think this issue in the aviation industry that airlines get to do what they want and get away with it because the passenger has limited rights to what they can do.
You would say is part of the reasons you had tweeted about this initially.
Yes, absolutely. And initially, when I tweeted it, I thought it was an honest mistake. I didn't think of anything of it. But it was after we landed in Abuja, after we left Asaba. When I saw the statement, that means they are more or less turning me into a liar. That this is not what happened, and I think that is where they get it wrong. So it's either they come clean, or perhaps we have to take the legal route and see if they can come clean out of the courts.
Hopefully we'll get the head of corporate communications to help us set the record straight. A passenger of the airline, that's the United Niger Airline, Soliu Tanko Yakasai, thank you so much for bringing this to the fore. Well, thanks for staying with us. We've been discussing the confusion or the confused incident that happened today, which involved the United Nigeria flight NUA 0504, which took off from Lagos and was supposed to be in Abuja, but unfortunately and in some development, it landed in Asaba. And we have an aviation editor of Daily Telegraph, Wale Shadari, has been helping us better understand what would have been the reason for this flight diversion, as the airline had explained in their statement released earlier today. Mr. Shadari, thank you so much for staying through with us. You heard the passenger also talk about them expecting the airline to come clean and explain what really happened. You, as someone who has been covering this bit for quite some time, understands what could have played out. But help us break it down. When an airline is expected to fly, where does it get its communication from?
Hello?
Mr. Shadari, I'm asking, when an airline is supposed to take off from the airport, where is it getting its communication from? How does he, you had earlier said that it was a wrong flight plan he had received. That's for the cabin crew. So help us understand what the chain of the channel of communication is before an airline takes off, and before he lands, it should have gotten some kind of communication from the airports before landing.
Yes, thanks. And a flight operation is a whole lot of things that you need to put together. Not only from the airlines, but also from the control tower. But in this case, the control tower cannot be held responsible. It's wherever to that the control tower will ask you to go, because the control tower, I believe, we also believe that you have all your plans. And you begin to send it to relevant places, and you just need to do whatever is need to be done. It's a whole lot of exercise that the airline does. But like I said, this is not peculiar to Nigeria. I guess this is the first time it's happening in Nigeria. We've had a case in 2019 with British Airways that was supposed to land in Düsseldorf. but ended up in Edinburgh. So mistakes do happen, and most of the time it happens when you have code, airport code or flight, not airport code now, airport code like Abuja is ABV and maybe Asaba is AB whatever. So a mistake could have happened until these things are investigated before we can actually know what went wrong. But in trying to with the truth, we must come out with the truth by accepting that a mistake was made.
All right, so let's bring in
the cabin crew couldn't have made a mistake.
All right, let's put your note for a while. All right, so thank you so much for helping us better understand what's going to play out. Hopefully we get a response from United Nigeria Airlines to help us better understand, probably give an apology for the earlier statement issued today. Thank you so much, Mr. Wale Shadari. He is an aviation editor of Daily Telegraph. Thank you so much for helping us understand the issues we have here.